From the South Carolina School Boards Association, I'm Scott Price, SCSBA Executive Director, and welcome to the Voice of School Boards. It's in the complex world of public education that school board members find themselves squarely at the forefront. From the loftiness of policy development and having a vision for schools to the rudiments of budget developing and building classrooms, school board members are tasked with addressing the challenges and inequities in education. Oftentimes, in the process of doing so, school board members' voices and that of other local leaders become a whisper. The goal of this podcast is to educate, amplify, and engage in a civil discourse on where we've been in education, where we are now, and where we hope to go in the future. Along the way, we'll meet some very interesting people and also have a little fun. On this episode of Voice of School Boards, we are at Day at the Capitol, and we have about 100 plus school board members who have joined us today in Columbia to advocate on behalf of public education. Joining us on our episode today, we have Mr. Hugh Gray from the Newberry School District, Newberry Board, Carlton Dallas from the Beaufort District and Beaufort Board, the chair, welcome, chairman, and then Wendy Burgess from Anderson One School District. Thank you all for joining us, not only in Columbia today, but on Voice of the School Boards. Tell us why you're here. Why are you part of this group of school board members that have come to Columbia today? Wendy, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Scott. First of all, let us say thank you for having us here today. We appreciate all that you guys do for us. This day is very important for all school board members and all the students and families that we represent back home, no matter what community that we are from. But this day is important because it gives us a chance to come together as a team to talk about those hot topics and those policies, those things that we agree with and maybe even disagree with. And then we take that opportunity to walk across the street and find our local delegation, shake their hands, and take that time just to say thank you. Because even before today, we should have already talked to them about those things that are on our platter that we need to share with them. But this day gives us a chance to see them in their arena, come to their arena and celebrate all the things that they are doing well for us. And then, of course, we always have this great opportunity to come back and debrief and break bread together.
Yep.
So we are also building our relationships along the way. So
We do enjoy breaking bread as an organization. Can you tell us why you're here?
Well, I started with school district work probably 20-something years ago when I worked in district office as a public information officer in Newberry. And having been someone who grew up in private schools, when I got into public education and got to see all the opportunities that are available for students, I really gained a great appreciation for what public education does for its students and what's available and what opportunities are out there. And so when I got out of that position, I wanted to continue my relationship with public education, and I ran for office and was able to win, and now come down to talk to legislators and try to share that message that there are great opportunities for students in public education.
Carlton, why are you here today?
Large organizations are really built on relationships. They're so important. And establishing good, strong relationships with our elected officials is critical to help inform them through some of the mechanisms that you've developed at the South Carolina School Board Association. So beneficial. And just as Senator Zell was speaking earlier, he learned from his exposure to the school districts, and he also feels he's become a better legislator as a result of that. And the other couple of points I'd make, one is traditional public schools is one of the most important socialization mechanisms in American society. We take any student that shows up, we educate them, and those students go on to become adults, and they form the future editions of our society. So if no one's doing that in a very systematic way, we don't have this great society. We don't have common ethics and morals and ideas about how to relate to one another. And the South Carolina School Board Association has been very effective in doing that. In speaking to our representatives and senators today, it was very impressive to see in the 3 or 4 years I've been on the board, for them to have a better appreciation for how important this organization is, but also traditional public schools. And that's the big epiphany for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Carlton. So I want to ask you all this. Why is it so important to have advocacy at the forefront of being a school board? And Hugh, I'm going to ask you this first because I think a lot of advocacy is telling a story. And how important is it for school boards, school districts to be telling their story, not only in the communities, but with legislators routinely?
Well, we've just heard 3 legislators, each of which said that they're members of the legislature that don't understand education. And so it's wildly important for us to be able to get in front of legislators as a group and with an aligned message and talk about what great things are going on in education and what we need from them to provide those great things in our communities.
Awesome. Wendy, you want to add anything to that?
I'd love to add, Scott. I know last week you had Dr. Mathis on for your podcast.
That's right.
Dr. David Mathis, absolutely my all-time favorite boss. Forgive me, other bosses who I've had over my past 28 years in education. But one thing he always told us as our leader is that his mother used to tell him that when you point a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at me. So when I think about that, I've carried that along my way in my career because that thought just triggers with me that it's important that before we point a finger to try to see what the problem is or the solution, what are the things we're doing to support our community? So that is why it's important for us to be that voice and be willing to speak on behalf of those that whether they know or they don't know or they can or they can't, but we have the knowledge and we have the skills to bring forth what needs to be said in a way that truly advocates for those changes that we do need.
Awesome. And Carlton, how important is it for districts and school boards to be telling your own story? If you're not telling your story, somebody else will tell it for you.
Absolutely. Having seen the Mona Lisa and hearing people talk about what a phenomenal picture it is, if the Mona Lisa is in the dark, no one can appreciate it. School boards are so similar. We are such a complex organization. General public has no idea the magnitude of what we actually manage. The difficulties of bringing all these disparate groups together and melding them into a positive goal to achieve. So it's important that individual school board members learn as much about the details of the institution and take that into the public. They don't realize the percentages of demographics that are inherent in every school district, and some of our competing options don't have that. And so it's very important that people understand what we do to benefit the general society, because as you said, Wendy and Hugh reinforced, it's absolutely essential that people understand, as one of the panelists earlier today, how important what we do is to their well-being.
You add something to that?
Yeah, each of us has mentioned what's going on and how we have to create relationships and how we have to get the word out. I think things have changed in the last 30 years. 30 years ago, I don't think public education had as many opponents as we do now. And a lot of our opponents, while some of them are good-hearted and want to do the right thing, there are some who take data and manipulate it to their agenda. And so we have to get the word out about what the actuality and the reality is.
Well, and that's very interesting. And when do you want to add to that?
No, Scott, I was just, as he was talking about that is such a great point because we're so quick to say we can't do, and sometimes even as educators, we're our worst enemy. But really, we're doing a lot of great things in education. I mean, if we look around this room at all the beautiful people in this room doing great things, all the people across the street they're doing all the great things. Most of us probably did that with a public education background.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the interesting thing about that is, and this is kind of goes back to what our panelists were talking about earlier, Senator Zell, who most recently on the Sumter School Board, now serving his first term in the Senate, and talking about the need to tell your story, the need to advocate on behalf of school boards, because it's like you were saying, Hugh, back in the day, legislators, by and large, did right by public education. And you didn't have the detractors that you have nowadays. So you even have that same sentiment on school boards. And so it's very important to make sure that we have that focus and stay together and are constantly advocating on behalf of public education, because it's so much more important now than it was 30 years ago. And I can say that because I've been around about 30 years over at the State House. So tell me about your day to day. What was it like at the State House? What was your impressions? What was it like? Was it exciting? Was it unnerving? Did you run outside to get fresh air? Tell me what was your day like today?
The day today was a very beautiful day. There is something that almost feels like a civic duty when you walk in that building. It's a beautiful building. It's decorated. You know, I'm a James F. Burns scholar, so walking over there and stepping into the Senate side and seeing his picture hanging on the wall, that was a moment for me.
Yeah.
But it felt also, I enjoyed just seeing all the folks in the lobby talking and interacting, and it reminds me of how important it is for us to teach our personal children and our students. Like, civil discourse is important. You got to be able to talk. So I certainly enjoyed that piece today.
Awesome. Q?
Newberry being a small community, we know our legislative delegation, have them in our phones, call them by first name, they call us first name. So it was good to get in there and talk to Senator Cromer and Representative White, but they already know where we stand. We communicate. What I think is really great about today is being able to stand beside other school board members from other counties and support them as they talk to their representative or senator.
Awesome. Carlton, how was it for you today over there?
It was phenomenal. It really was. We were able to meet with both senators and representatives that represent Beaufort County School District. They came out, they took time, they introduced us, feeling of warmth and appreciation, and it helps strengthen that relationship. They are genuinely trying to do the best thing that they can, in my humble opinion. But there's so many ways we can help them and alleviate some of the stress and challenges that they encounter. And that was palpable today, actually felt them. And we spoke to our representative and senators. We relayed, Mr. Smith and myself, we relayed to them things that were top of mind, because there's so many things in the school district that are really important and critical. But we're here today to thank you, but also if you're looking to help and guide us, here are two areas. And they were so open today. That's really motivating. So that was big today for me.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to Columbia and to meet with your legislative delegation members, talk to them about education issues. I know we give you all talking points, but you know these things. You know how it impacts you at the local level, and your willingness to come up and share that with your legislative delegation members is just absolutely critical in terms of keeping education at the forefront, moving us forward. So thank you all for being here today. Anything that you want to say as we wrap up?
I just wanted to repeat something that Representative Courtney Waters said a few minutes ago to us. She talked about misalignment. So we all on your board, however, whatever your opinion is on your board, when the board votes, that's the opinion of the board. So you got to get behind it, especially if you're going to come down here and talk to legislators. And another thing she said, and actually was echoed by a couple of the other legislators, was that relationships are so important. They're important laterally on the board. They're important vertically in the organization. They're important with the community, and they're important with our legislators.
If I could just add one final point, is that the South Carolina School Board Association, you hit way above your weight, and that came through today. So a lot of the preparation mechanics that you have enable us, me personally, to be a much more effective conveyor of what's happening and what the school districts need. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Carl. We appreciate that. And again, appreciate you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for serving on your local board, fighting for public schools at the local level, at the state level, and even at some instances at the federal level. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
And that's it for this episode of the Voice for School Boards. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we'll see you soon.